July 11th, 2022 is a bright, sunny, and hot day and takes me to a section of the Finger Lakes Trail in upstate New York. Today marks 689 days till my planned beginning of the Appalachian Trail. I'm happy to have a trail with a seemingly endless route so close to home to train on. Many of the entry points along this trail system are on private property. I always feel like I'm sneaking on, and I walk tentatively until I see blazes on trees marking the way. And there goes you thinking that there's any amount of rebel in me. There is. That will come out in days ahead. The Finger Lakes Trail system is more than 950 miles in length and stretches through a lot of New York State. Today I'm in the Goundry State Forest section near South Bradford and Savona and will only taste a mere 12 miles. I say thank you to the volunteers that maintain the trail in this section, as that's where these fresh white blazes came from. They help me find my way, and with less to think about in directions, I have a bit of mental freedom to get lost in my thoughts. At the same time as freedom, I also feel a protectiveness anchoring me into treading lightly, so as not to disturb any tiny plants, nor the peace that this plot of land offers. I find myself wondering how I can keep the environment sacred. I hope that my walking is not a disturbance, but rather a blessing, an offering, a prayer, and an acknowledging that there's so much more of this kind of earth that exists than we could ever comprehend. There is such a complexity to nature. As I soak in the tiny details of the earth spread before me, I think about all of my time spent in a concrete jungle, and where that's not a waste of time. It's a time that's been more about observing what humans do and how complacent and content we are with our comforts. I'm not immune to this. Just this morning, I was sipping really expensive coffee under a blanket on my couch, daydreaming about being in nature. Now that I'm here, immersed, I daydream of knowing and learning the infinite amount of miles beneath the surface, the system that creates what we get to see. But, of course, the surface of this earth is still way too much for me to understand. So I pause the mental games and just count my blessings for each and every moment of nature magic I do get to witness. A few miles in, I see a stack of rocks called a cairn, and I know to look for a lean-to shelter coming up soon. There are many lean-tos all along the Finger Lakes Trail, and I'm taken to memories of training for and attempting to hike the entirety in the past. I failed due to medical reasons, but really due to not being properly equipped with the right gear and not being prepared mentally. I had desire, but I also had fear that tagged along, loud and annoying. There it is, the lean-to. I stopped to rest for a moment, getting curious about the difference now. I have a lack of fear about being in nature. Don't get me wrong, there's a reverence beyond no other, and a respect, but I feel a deep calm settle in as I still my body and my mind and I listen to what she has to say. I know the only fear I will have as I spend more and more time with her is a fear that is by my own doing, a mistake that I make because I'm not listening attentively enough. Any fear I have is of myself, my ignorance, no matter how much I learn, not of nature. Besides, if it's my time to go, I would rather it be this way than, say, of boredom. Never truly knowing what the earth is going to give me that will totally eradicate my feelings of giddy insatisfaction, I choose today to intentionally inflict discomfort. This is part of the physical and mental preparation for the Appalachian Trail dream becoming reality. It's 90 degrees with an immediate sweat-producing humidity, and I choose to wear a cotton shirt, a big no-no compared to the cooling and wicking technology made for these kinds of days. Because what if cotton is all that's available to me at some point? I choose to leave my hair down, sticking to my neck, because I'll not always be able to go to my vanity, where there's a surplus of 40 hair ties at any given point in time. I choose to wear my pack heavy, so that I'm getting used to an oppressive and maybe unnecessary weight that will eventually feel light compared to what I'm carrying in the future. This course of action kept my heart rate up in the red for much longer than I would have liked, so where I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else, ensuring that there's just a little bit of suffering and grit in the journey makes it so much more satisfying when the day is complete. No undue harm, mind you, just that little bit of extra spiderweb slaps to the face when your face is soaked in salt and dampness so you can't get it off. That kind of suffering, so to speak. The day was not all suffering, though. It was definitely a day of noticing, especially when I would stop to catch my breath, about every 10th of a mile. Look at this little tiny low bush blueberry plant that was there in the perfect timing to remind me that small steps towards progress still bears the same size fruit. Or that sometimes there's something undeniable in your path that you cannot ignore because this thing looks nothing like the rest of the things. I stopped to touch the smoothness of this bark, and, though dead, this tree still serves a purpose. It's the home of some critters. And sometimes strange things happen. I saw more squirrels in this group of conifers than I would have ever imagined, and I have no idea why. I would have expected them to be closer to nut-bearing trees, but squirrels are strange anyway. I recently learned that squirrels are fierce protectors of their young. Mother squirrels will exhaust themselves moving their babies from one location to another, seeking out safety. The babies, one at a time, wrap themselves around mother's neck, sometimes cutting off her air supply as she's frantically scurrying to the next spot, enough so that she passes out and has to reclaim her consciousness before moving on again, over and over and over and over, depending on how many babies she has. That's motherly love. But I also learned that squirrels are vicious predators and think nothing of approaching a bird's nest and snacking on the buffet of chirping wee fluff balls within. I'm a softie, and I'm not sure if I hold hatred or admiration for the squirrel right now, but I know that there's nothing I can do but choose to look at what I consider positive personality traits of this animal, and of all things. The relentless optimist in me hopes to never see a squirrel eating a baby bird, but hope is funny like that, isn't it? Hope does not mean a sunny, magical ending will occur, but rather, it's an allowing of what is meant to be and a surrendering to a most benevolent outcome as it affects me and those around me, all events contributing to a wider, bigger picture fullness that makes the essence of nature. I'm often given signs that all is well just as it is. This section of the Finger Lakes Trail crossed roads several times. I'm grateful as I remember that on the day that I chose the theme of intentional discomfort, I forgot to tell anyone where I was going. I make a mental note to stay practical about this for future safety and not let my excitement of going and being out there override one of the most important precautions to take. Thank goodness this trip could have afforded me road access and a hitch back to my car if need be. But that's not legal in New York State. Catching my breath and reducing my heart rate so many times also allowed me to take in another tiny detail. Ticks that jumped from tall grasses on the trail onto my body in their own way of hitchhiking their way into a meal. Well, not quite. I got them off before they burrowed. If I were to give any advice after hiking on this day, it would be to carry a water filter of some sort. I packed 3 liters, and in the 5 hours it took me to do this section, I went through that really quickly. I also used my Sawyer squeeze to safely drink from the only water source I saw, as the land is very dry from a lack of rain. All in all, I went through 5 liters, so much more than I would have expected in such a short trip. Today was not just me immersing myself into nature and the grit, but also discovering all she has to give back. I step into nature and it's like a giant hug. I'm wrapped in the embrace of sunshine and air and crisp, startling smells. With every step I take to merge with nature, there's a collision with my senses that just feels right. I'm so thankful that she's always there. It's me that chooses to come and go. For now.